Colombian paramilitary group Autodefensas Conquistadores de la Sierra asked President Gustavo Petro to arrange a meeting with the Venezuelan government. In France, the left-wing New Popular Front coalition won the most seats in the second voting round of parliamentary elections, putting them on track for an unexpected win with the far-right National Rally Party. In Palestine, Israeli occupation forces killed at least 55 Palestinians in 3 massacres during the last 24 hours. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from Telesur Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Colombian paramilitary group Autodefensas Conquistadores de la Sierra asked President Gustavo Petro to arrange a meeting with the government of Venezuela to provide details about the plans of the Venezuelan far-right against social peace. The armed group declared that they were aware of the Venezuelan president's statement and have the moral obligation to deliver the information they deem necessary. Likewise, the paramilitary group added that the Venezuelan far-right sought their influence to alter the democratic system and generate violence in Venezuela. They also reaffirmed that the construction of peace is the only way to achieve prosperity and tranquility of the communities. Through a statement on the social media X, the armed group respectfully requested President Gustavo Petro to adopt pertinent measures so that the Venezuelan authorities can have a direct dialogue with their organization to provide them with information and thus initiate their respective judicial proceedings. In that sense, they reiterate that this act of peace originates in the respect for electoral processes and democracy in Venezuela so that real peace can be built and violence can be stopped for the good of the people. The Autodefensas Conquistadoras de Sierra Nevada is a Colombian paramilitary structure that maintains territorial control in Sierra Nevada, Santa Marta, in the department of Magdalena, and other nearby areas. In a historical context, the criminal diaspora is a result of the demobilization of the United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia. This group runs drug trafficking and extortion networks in tourist areas. The ASCN operate autonomously their logistical activities, and in some cases have established alliances with criminal organizations to guarantee control over areas of route and transport of illicit substances to countries such as the United States and Europe. However, in recent times, the organization has shown a willingness to negotiate with the Colombian government, declaring a unilateral ceasefire in hope of installing dialogues. The statement of the Colombian irregular armed group Autodefensas Conquistadores de la Sierra Nevada comes after the same Colombian paramilitary group denounced contacts with the Venezuelan far-right with the objective of generating violence and attacks in the middle of the electoral process. Leonel Retamal has the details.
On its X account, the Colombian irregular armed group Autodefensas Conquistadores de la Sierra Nevada denounced that they were contacted by the extremist Venezuelan opposition to generate acts of violence in Venezuela and make an attempt on the life of President Maduro. This group, also known as the Pachencas, is an armed group that emerged after the demobilization of a fraction of Las Autodefensas Unidas de Colombia.
Our units in the Department of La Guajira have been contacted by the extreme right groups from Venezuela to destabilize the government of the Republic of Venezuela. The interlocutors have made all kinds of requests, among them to attack the Venezuelan electrical infrastructure, to act against the candidate president Nicolás Maduro, to act in case he is re-elected by infiltrating protests and generating chaos in the streets.
The Venezuelan president reacted to this accusation by requesting an investigation of those involved. The video is known one day before the beginning of the electoral campaign and a little more than 3 weeks before the elections.
We are in a battle for the right to peace, for the right to peace, the right to peace, and no one is going to spoil Venezuela, I assure you.
The Attorney General instructed to investigate this complaint as soon as possible.
It is undoubtedly an attack against peace, against the Constitution, against the Venezuelan legal system, but also against the Venezuelan people. All this, and this is the most serious, within the framework of an electoral process, where some minority sectors of the right wing, aligned with the White House, have already considered fraud in case they are not favored by the will of the people.
They wanted to kill me over and over again, and they couldn't.
Venezuelan authorities have denounced 9 conspiracies, including assassination attempts or attempts against political leaders in the last time, 5 during 2023 and 4 during this year, the most recent on March 25, during the registration of Maduro's candidacy in the CNE. Despite the constant security and counterintelligence measures, some plots saw the light of day, such as the attempted assassination with drones in 2018 and the Gideon operation in 2020.
At other times, the political situation of the country has been much more delicate, much more complex. The actions of these sectors have been very avid and with enormous logistics. All this with less experience of entering this scenario, the security forces have neutralized it.
Although the possibility of political violence has been eradicated among the bulk of the population and political actors, there are remnants that still aspire to confrontation between Venezuelans.
The agenda of violence in this country is discarded by most political actors, as well as by the Venezuelan society.
Political forces continue their course of campaigning, while President Maduro has insisted on alerting social organizations to avoid scenarios of violence.
In Argentina, adjustments continue in the science and technology sector, which reports a drop of up to 30.4% with respect to the year 2023. According to a report by experts in budgetary matters, during the first half of the year, the real execution of the science and technology function decreased in an accelerated manner, consolidating itself as an abrupt setback with respect to the measurements made since 1972. Likewise, the salaries of the sector's workers have experienced a real decrease of up to 26.3%. Similarly, cuts of almost 95% were reached in the Secretariat of Innovation, Science and Technology, and up to 85.6% in university budgets. On Sunday in Cuba, the forces of the Ministry of the Interior announced they dismantled a terrorist plot against Cuba organized and financed by the United States. Cuban authorities highlighted that as a result of the investigation carried out by the Ministry of the Interior, Cuban citizens Ardenis Garcia Alvarez, the mastermind of those actions planned in the territory of the United States, who had illegally immigrated to that country since 2014, was arrested, as well as other involved people residing in Cuba after entering the island illegally by sea and bringing with them firearms and ammunition. In this regard, the Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez said on his X account the following: "Forces of the Ministry of the Interior dismantled a terrorist plan against Cuba, organized and financed from U.S. territory. We are not a terrorist country, we have been and are victims of terrorism." Let's take now a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at Telesur English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. For the stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In France, the left-wing New Popular Front coalition won the most seats in the second voting round of parliamentary elections, putting them on track for an unexpected win over the far-right National Rally Party. More than 32 million French citizens participated in the parliamentary runoff elections to elect 501 out of the 577 seats that make up the country's National Assembly. According to experts, if the electoral body confirms the turnout data of the last round, it will be a figure not seen since 1997. During the first round, 76 deputies had been elected, 39 of them representatives of the far-right National Rally Party. Following the results, Prime Minister Gabriel Attal said he will offer his resignation to President Macron.
We are not ready to enter into prayers with his departure to make combinations, especially after having shared tirelessly after 7 years his policy of social mistreatment, of ecological denunciation, The French people, I come to confirm the good reasons in which we must do especially after the vote spoke. After which Popular Front, despite all the challenges of all the defamations of all the insults, we have the victory today that the people have given us.
Coalition leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon stressed that President Emmanuel Macron has a duty to call on the new Popular Front to govern.
He has to admit his defeat without trying to manipulate or change it in any way. The Prime Minister must. Who never received the confidence of the National Assembly comes from leading the campaign lost by his party and received a massive popular challenge vote. The President must and has a duty to call the new Popular Front to govern.
The Secretary General of the Socialist Party, Olivier Faure, assured that it is time to continue building the nation.
The danger of the far right of the national grouping was confronted. We must continue to fight on the great axes. It is time to continue building the nation. There is a moment before and after this July. In the coming days it will be the role of the Popular Front and of this our center, and the socialist family to reform a collective project of our country.
Leader of the National Rally Party, Jordan Bardella, thanked the people for their participation and serenity before the election results.
The French people have spoken, marking this election with a historical participation rate. French people have honored democracy. I want to thank the voters of the national grouping and its allies for the patriotic attitude they expressed. I thank them for their mobilization, constancy, but above all serenity in the face of this result.
In Bangladesh, authorities reported that the death toll from floods this week rose to 8, leaving more than 2 million affected after heavy rains caused major rivers to burst their banks. The government informed it opened hundreds of shelters for people displaced by the waters and sent food and relief to hard-hit districts in the country's north region. Disaster Management Ministry Secretary Kamrul Hassan said 17 of the country's 64 districts have been affected. The South Asian nation of 170 million people has seen more frequent floods in recent years. Climate change has made rainfall more erratic and melting glaciers upstream in the Himalayan mountains.
Around 23,000 people took shelter in 3,000 shelter centers, and around 2 million people have been directly affected by the flood in 19 districts of the country. Now the flood situation is improving, and the flood water is receding in some places, but it can inundate the lower land more, because this water comes from the Himalayas in Nepal, through India, and falls to the Bay of Bengal.
Also in Nepal, at least 14 people lost their lives and dozens were injured in incidents related to floods caused by heavy rains. According to the police spokesman, this weather phenomenon increased the flow of the nation's main rivers to the point of flooding several cities, causing damage to homes and most of the territory's roads. Police sources also detailed that 9 people are still missing due to landslides caused by the rainfall and warned that the death toll could increase. The Nepal Department of Hydrology and Climatology reiterated the continuation of red and orange alerts due to the danger posed by the heavy rains. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly, share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. Palestinian Israeli occupation forces killed at least 55 Palestinians in 3 massacres in the last 24 hours. The Ministry of Health reported that these actions left 123 wounded. The authorities also warned that many of the victims remain under the rubble of the infrastructure damaged by the bombardments, so there is a possibility that both figures could be even higher. According to the most recent health report, 38,153 Palestinians have been killed and another 87,828 have been wounded since October 2023, when the Israeli war against the Gaza Strip began. The occupation forces continue to bombard various areas in the occupied Palestinian territories. Recently, Palestinian authorities reported shelling in the city of Rafah, south of the Gaza Strip, resulting in the documented death of at least 3 Palestinians in Chaburak refugee camp, located in the center of the city. The bodies were later transported to the Nasser Medical Complex in Han Yunis, and again, according to medical sources, the actual death toll could be even higher. In Israel, marking the 9th month since the start of the genocidal war on the Gaza Strip, settlers took to the streets expressing their rejection over the policies of the government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Demonstrators blocked major roads and gathered in front of the homes of members of the Israeli parliament, and they demanded the resignation of the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and called for a ceasefire to enable the return of the hostages still being held by Hamas militants. Demonstrators also called on international mediators to step up their efforts to reach an agreement, while stressing the urgency of finding a way for the region to live in peace rather than in an endless war. In Niger, the heads of states of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, of Mali, Assimi Goïta, and the host, Abdourahmane Tchiani, signed the treaty creating the Confederation of Sahel States. The historic agreement took place within the framework of the first summit of the Alliance of Sahel States, and according to the signatories, it is a decisive step towards a long-delayed dream for their peoples, the creation of the Sahelian Federation, that will allow the promotion, cooperation, and integration of the countries of the area in fundamental issues such as security, development, economy, and fight against terrorism. Its promoters assure that it is urgent for Africa to distance itself from foreign powers and extend this call to the community of West African states, ECOWAS.
The summit itself is historic because it is the first summit of the Alliance of Sahel States. Obviously, we expect to launch the foundation of the alliance, and we expect important decisions such as the process of creating a common currency, the redeployment of our forces, a single military command for our troops to fight terrorism in the military border zone.
UEFA Euro 2024 is in its final stages after the quarterfinals round concluded on Saturday. In this way, Spain defeated Germany in an agonizing manner in what fans and experts highlight as an anticipated final of what had been the 2 best teams of the competition. On the other hand, France defeated Portugal on penalties after a goalless match. On the other hand, also in penalties, advanced England to the semifinals, tying 1-1 with Switzerland in the 90 minutes. And meanwhile, the Netherlands defeated Turkey 2-1 in the quarterfinals. In this context, the semifinals are thus defined between the games of Spain versus France and England versus Netherlands.
It's going to be a semi-final to take seriously. I think they're one of the best teams in this competition and they play great football. But then it's a game we're used to playing. We like big games. I think we'll be ready for Tuesday. It is much more valuable to have a great team, to be better as a team than to have stars. And I think we are showing that. Maybe we don't have those top names or those superstars, but I think as a team we are very good. We play good football and so far we are doing very well.
Meanwhile, the semifinals of the 2024 Copa America have been confirmed as favorites Argentina, Colombia, and Uruguay, as well as Canada, are still in competition. In this way, in the semifinals round, Lionel Messi's Argentina facing Canada will be defending the title that they won for the 15th time in Brazil in 2021, while Uruguayan team will meet Colombia. The part of Uruguay, it must be stressed that its 16th trophy of this event in 45 appearances, as Colombia has shown for many the best in the current tournament, led by former Real Madrid James Rodriguez. On the other hand, Canada, who will host the next FIFA World Cup, is without a doubt the revelation team, as it has advanced to the semi-finals in its first ever participation.
And I think now on the back of two really strong performances, we have an incredible task at in a semifinal to play against the best team in the world. So we're excited, but you know, again, I said this before, we're excited but not satisfied.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.